Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
By the way, I don't know if I invented that, but when I first started using it was in 1967, 68. Cliff again, I used to work for him. He was the youngest playground director in the LA City school system. They had run the last two off by burning the cars up and sending one to the hospital. So we took over the neighborhood. We had Barry White, the singer, as one of our kids. He was a skinny little 12-year-old. And Tookie Williams, who was an extremely intelligent kid. We tried to get him out of the swamp, but his mother wouldn't let us, so he just became the baddest alligator in the swamp. Tookie started the Crips. Last person executed on California's death row. That's
Almost
where
15
we
years
rolled.
ago. Wow.
Yeah, but we set up a big program there. We had a low power radio broadcast station for the neighborhood, and I was the DJ. So I started talking about we got to do the man up thing. We've got these young boys down here, and we want them to man up. So I used it then. I was a school teacher, substitute teacher to help get through law school. And I'd always tell the kids, man up, son. You got to get your stuff together. We can't have this. Men don't act like that. And then when I was practicing law, I'd tell many a client, you need to man up, boy. Dude, you need to man up. And then when I got on the bench, I'd tell defendants, man up. And then when I did that show, started 22 years, I do man up. So anyway, they wanted to claim that. And I said, you can go to hell on that one. But, you know, it's a thing you got to do. Another one I had is not a question of whether you're dealing with a fool, but how big a fool can a fool be? Now, I've talked randomized on this. You got any specific things you want me to go back on like you were in the beginning?
Oh, no. I mean, like, your take on, I guess, the Nick Cannon thing, the fact that I feel like we live in a nation of cowards. Most people are cowardly, it seems, or followers.
I call him a punk ass. He ought to be able to have himself a real damn job. And the deal is you can't be a real man doing what you're doing and need to be doing if you are compromised. And too many of our elected officials who are in D.C. right now, who are in the Black Caucus, are in the Black LGBT queer caucus. Because they bent over or they got down on their knees and they puckered up and sucked something.
Yeah.
Or they were female and they spread some knees and ate something.
I got to actually, speaking of politics, I know Donald Trump came out today and said we may have to expand this year's election, national election. And people are saying, well, what you think about that? The fact that we, because of the COVID-19 crisis and the other stuff going on, that the elections might have to be suspended for this year. Do you agree with that?
I don't care.
But is that a constitutional crisis though? That happened?
I don't mind who's in the White House right now. I don't give him another year. But actually, it's never been done. But there is some precedent for it. The whole thing starts off, et cetera, for promotion of the public health, safety, and welfare of the nation. Health is the first thing on there. Safety is the next, and welfare of the nation. So if that is one of the preeminent purposes of the whole damn government, see, people today live in a safety bubble. There have been situations where they have quarantined whole areas and brought in the army to enforce the quarantine. They have these things called leper colonies where people against their will who are suffering from leprosy have been confined to those colonies and they can't leave. It's like a penitentiary, but they try to give them some care. Oh, come on. Don't lose the signal. Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, what happens is quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
See, people forget this just because they haven't stumbled on it in their short lives, born since the 60s or in the mid 60s and from there on. I don't think that's going to happen, but it might. And let me tell you something about COVID. I had a minor in college, which was vertebrate paleontology, with a special interest in the influence of pathogens in species evolution and extinction. And this looks bad. This is the first time in human history where we have faced a pathogen that infects most of the animals we come in contact with: domestic cats and dogs, wolves, coyotes, foxes, bear, domestic cats, wild cats, lions, tigers, baboons, chimpanzees, no gorillas yet, pigs, people eat pork, cattle, people eat beef, chickens can be infected. We eat a whole lot of bird. And
Yeah.
Aunt Jemima went over to uh,
Popeyes.
Popeye's chicken, and she's sitting in the front seat of a car chowing down on a chicken sandwich, talking about she's experiencing some things.
Mm-hmm.
And see, we've got all of this going on, and it infects bats and civets, which are kind of weasels. And there's a documented case in the Netherlands of somebody got infected by some infected minks, the stuff they make mink coats off of.
Mm-hmm.
Pangolins, which are a kind of anteater with huge scales that they like to make fancy boots, belts, and purses out of. See, we've never had a pathogen that goes across species like that, ever. Perhaps mad cow disease, but you had to do certain things for that. But that wasn't as contagious as COVID 19. COVID 19 is very contagious. It's like a super cold in terms of contagion. The percentage of people who die from it makes it the most dangerous disease humans have confronted since the Black Plague. It's not the most lethal, but it's the most effective. So the math is, if it infects more people with the level of lethality that it has, it's the most dangerous. Now we've got 150 some thousand going on 160,000 dead people in America. In 15 days, the infected number tested jumped from 3 to 4 million. And in 9 days since, it's jumped over to 5.5 million. And by the math of the whole thing, and I know people will poo poo this saying they're over testing, they're not. They're under testing. And considering the mathematical probabilities of people who've been infected but haven't gone in to get treated, we've got going on 50 million Americans that have been infected with this disease.
Mm.
So you got 50 million people that have been infected. You got 150 some thousand going up to 160,000 dead. And that is ramped up just in a month from 3 to almost 5 million infected in less than a month. And
Wow.
this is looking very bad. And worldwide, this stuff is going to hit again in November. It doesn't seem to do as well as it might in hot weather.
But during election time, during general election, right?
Exactly. Now, I also had a physics minor, so I can do mathematical curves. And I've done some on this, and it looks very, very bad. Now, I know people want to say it's a hoax and it came out of a lab, but let's just use Frankenstein's monster as a precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Frankenstein made the monster, but once the monster got loose, it was out of his control. I looked at the genetic analysis that I've seen published in research papers, and it does not look like it's man-made. Every indicia is that it's a wild strain that's been mutating. Wild strain of SARS-CoV-1, which caused SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, from 18 years ago. MERS, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, which is SARS-CoV-1A, and this is SARS-CoV-2, causing COVID-19, the disease, which was first diagnosed in 2019. The bad thing about this is the research that the Chinese and others have done, and some emerging research in America, is that you do not get lasting immunity. There are people that were infected, were tested, shown to have been infected with COVID-19 early on, late February, early March, who are now not immune, but can be reinfected. And there are some cases where people have been reinfected with COVID-19 who've already had it. So this is a real live monster.
Wow.
You and me and everybody that's listening has been infected by 4 coronaviruses. They cause the common cold. And try as anybody might, we know there's no cure for the common cold, nor is there any vaccine to prevent the common cold, because they can't get one because of the difficulties in dealing with a beta coronavirus. Guess what? SARS-CoV-2 is a beta coronavirus, and we don't have a vaccine for SARS-CoV-1, which caused SARS. We don't have a vaccine for MERS, and we don't have a vaccine right now with COVID-19. All of these possible remedies, the problem is there hasn't been enough field research and enough people where they have been able to vigorously study it to rule out the fact that you may be looking at a coincidence. So it does not look good. Now, if you want to, you can get research, but I warn you, research papers, but I warn you, they're going to be some pretty hard things to read, and you have to be up on science to understand what they're saying. But these papers are not news reports. They are published for peer review. In other words, it's not presumed to be hard science unless peers of the scientists have had a chance to chop it up, thrash it out, try to repeat it, and redo the whole analysis. If they come out, then fine. And research papers will be full of remarks from the authors of the study that say, we did not get a chance to investigate this. This may have an impact. Somebody needs to do a study on this aspect of the problem. Or our data were lacking because of the following, or the data was lacking because of this, or we do have other data that indicated something, blah, 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 which wasn't the target of our research, but might merit further attention. This is the way research papers read. They don't read, it is, therefore, because, blah, blah, blah. In other words, they read like, it's possible that for what appear to be supportable reasons, for what seem to be, etc., etc. In other words, they equivocate because science changes, and the things they're studying change because they mutate, they evolve. And Mother Nature has found a new fertile field, which is a humanity with advanced modern medicine that has allowed people to survive, and it has invented jet planes that can transmit a pathogen in hours from one point to another, thousands of miles away, instead of having to float through the air or ride on camelback or by foot or on a slow sail driven ship. So it's got all of these animals, humans, 7 billion humans on the planet, and the multiple billions of cows and pigs and chickens Hell, we eat up 240 billion chickens a year. Literally. By the way, you know why they stopped selling those sandwiches at Popeyes for a while? They ran out of the small chickens they used. They had to have some grow.
Wow.
So we eat a whole bunch of chicken. Every human in North America winds up eating 25 to 30 whole chickens a year on average. So it adds up all around the world. Everybody eats chicken. But chickens can be infected, and some have been found to be infected. So that's bad. How do we, even if we get something for humans, how do we get the reservoir out there in all these other animals? You can't go around vaccinating foxes. You can't do that. You can't go around everybody's domesticated animal getting vaccinated, although you might with dogs like they do with rabies, but you still have all these other things out there. And the problem is you cannot give anybody any immunity because some poor souls have caught it and 3 months later caught it again. It doesn't even seem to act like last 3 or 4 months. We got a mess.
Well, I mean, it's something to think about because, they're trying to start back the NBA season tomorrow. And then you hear about Major League Baseball having the Florida Marlins. A lot of people on their team got the COVID-19, allegedly.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's going to be a problem with football. I'm just saying, like, is this the end of what we know as normal life,
It
especially with
might
sports?
be. I mean, I hate to be that way, but it might be. It's never happened in human history before. And let's put it this way, since you brought up football, people in the press are talking about the second wave may hit. We haven't even had the first one. What we've seen is the equivalent of the team running out the tunnel and doing calisthenics before they line up for the kickoff.
Man, Judge, I don't know what to say about that.
The mask thing. If you get an N95 mask with the carbon lining in it, yeah, that can protect you pretty well.
Okay.
But they're very hard to breathe through, and a lot of people are panicking for a number of reasons about
people people got anxiety. They take pills for that stuff. I mean, even you got to work out. I mean, with a mask on, come on, I mean, it's hot out here.
But see, the N95 actually will protect you pretty well. That's what you wear if you are a medical person and you have to deal with known infection, not just COVID-19. There are lesser masks, but what they do is trap your exhalations because they found that the stuff is carried not just by droplets of moisture that have been exhaled, but they get out generally as what they call, it's in your breath. So you get waiters coming to the table with their noses out. Why you got your nose out? Well, I'm trying to not breathe on you. Well, you're breathing. Are you a mouth breather or are you breathing out of your nose? Well, I got my nose out so I can breathe. Well, see, every time you breathe, every time you exhale, you are exhaling if you are infected, infectivity. Well, I'm not infected, but you see, here's the thing. Today's a nice day, but if you're okay, that means somebody didn't infect you 2 weeks ago. But today may not be a good day, and you may come down with it 2 weeks later from today from somebody that infected you today. The general period is about 14 days before you show signs after getting infected. And some people are asymptomatic, but they can infect. The other thing, the problem is that sometimes the incubation period is up to 6 weeks. And with those, they can infect people 2 weeks before they start showing any symptoms. So you don't have to show symptoms to infect. That's a problem with children, which is why school teachers are saying locally, you can't teach from the grave.
Well, I guess that's why
Now,
I guess the superintendent made the right choice, right? Shelby County School Superintendent.
exactly. Here's why. See, children can be infected with this, but they're asymptomatic, but they can infect adults. So
Hmm.
your child can be happy go lucky and come home and infect you in your house. Now imagine you were a school teacher and you were a room full of 40 of these who are showing no symptoms and who can infect and kill you because
Hmm.
the death rate is 10%. Now, that's decimation. The Roman legions, when somebody messed up, used to decimate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you, and then they would be stoned to death or beaten to death by their colleagues. That's called decimation. So 1 out of 10 does not look too favorable when you sit an auditorium full of people and okay, count off, and every 10th person is going to die. That's not cool. So just count all of the people that counted out 10 in this auditorium, and that's how many dead folk you got. And
Mm.
then down in Florida, they've got something disturbing where 31% of the children who are getting tested are fatalities, not 10%, but 31% for certain situations. We're young and healthy, it's just you old folks dying. Well, not quite. For the young people who are very fit and have very good immune systems, you are subject to something called the cytokine or cytokine storm, where your immune system starts reacting so vigorously to the pathogen that it starts killing you off. So you kill yourself off in terms of your immune system's reaction to the pathogen, and that's happening. So
Is
it
it kind of like an
infects.
autoimmune response, or it's not? Is it similar to that?
Similar to that, yes.
Okay.
So the other thing is it's settling in brains now. It's settling in heart muscle. It's settling in kidneys and livers. And you may have effects 10, 15 years down the pike that may turn out to be fatal. People are severely compromised in lung function who survive. And remember, even if you catch it and show no symptoms, it looks like you can re-catch it with 3 or 4 months later, and this time you might have some very bad reactions to it.
Okay. I mean, I'm glad. I appreciate the food for thought, Judge. But I'm gonna get you out of here. I just want to ask you one question before we go. The situation in Chicago, is it the right call for President Trump to send in the troops, the federal
Yes,
agents?
yes, that's his job.
Okay.
And then uh, Mayor Dykefoot, oh, excuse me, Lightfoot, she did one of the most insane things that I've ever heard of. I interviewed some detectives from Chicago on my show a
Hmm.
few weeks ago. You know Valerie
Oh
Denise, do
yeah.
you?
Shout out to Valerie Denise Jones doing great
Yes.
things.
Uh, it seems that Mayor Lightfoot decided to give direct financial aid to some street gangs, Hispanic street gangs. And that freaked out the responsible Hispanic leadership who did not like that. And they used the money to arm and supply, and they started killing black boys, and black street gangs started killing brown boys. So you got one hell of a mess in Chicago and some of the most inept mayoring I have ever read about or studied or been informed of. By the way, she got elected on the lowest turnout in, I think, 84 years in Chicago history for a mayor's race.
Oh, that's interesting.
The gay community stuck together. Meanwhile, food for thought, I will support gays' rights to do whatever in the hell they want to do in their bedrooms. But when they start trying to storm my living room and say what they say, I don't want my children or grandchildren who may be present to hear it. And one other thing, all of these streets in Memphis that have crosswalks over in the Cooper Young area that are painted in rainbow,
Mm-hmm.
This is the largest predominantly black city in America. When in the hell have you seen a red, black, and green sidewalk, a crosswalk, or anything red, black, and green painted by the city? Not one time. But they
Mm-hmm.
got rainbow stuff up all over the country. And
Mm.
BLM, read their manifesto. It's called What We Believe. They tried to hide it because I've been doing stuff that's brought some heat on them about it.
Yeah.
But don't read the whole thing from the beginning. Read it from the bottom up. Second paragraph from the bottom is taken directly from NAMBLA. That's the North American Man Boy Love Association that's pushing pedophilia.
Mm.
And it says that people of all ages should be allowed to make their decisions. That's part of the pedophile manifesto, because they say children should be able to do it. You go up to the third from the bottom, it says BLM is a quote, queer affirming affiliation. All right. Queer affirming. And then they start talking about all of their trans brothers and sisters who need to be protected, and we need to subject ourselves to their leadership. They talk about the destruction of the traditional nuclear family, the suppression of the influence of men in families and in affairs. They're anti man, they're anti straight woman, they are for pedophilia, and therefore the destruction of the family. So why are we pushing this? It's a bait and switch thing. It was incorporated by four lesbians, one of which has a white wife, and they get $250,000 apiece salary off of the million, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that have gone into them. And the history of the world is recording this as the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I don't know about you, but when I look at the news feeds, all I see is some ratchet little white cupcakes out there having a rowdy spring break or something to do, since they are restricted otherwise by COVID-19. And they can wear the mask so they can't be identified through surveillance video.
Wow. It's interesting. I just read that 2 days ago, a Chicago police chief named Dion Boyd committed suicide by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He was a black guy, but he was a newly promoted police chief in Chicago. I'm trying to figure out what made him blow his brains out. What's coming down that pipe in Chicago where he couldn't just take it no more, allegedly.
I wonder. Let's see what happens. There's a lot of stuff going on. And another thing, too, there is this old thing. What is it? Be careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
Oh yeah.
So they're trying to bring down a lot of attention on themselves. And what's happening is a lot of stuff is coming out that was supposed to be swept under the table. We
I mean,
have too
2020 is that
much.
year. It seems like everything's
Yeah,
being unveiled or revealed.
we have too much vanillity in our system, where people aren't really paid that much for being legislators, but they use the legislative office for under the table activity.
That's right.
We've got too much of that in Memphis. Every single somebody that has ever voted against a resolution to replace the deballed voting machines has been getting money under the table. I'll make that prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. Latest little cretin is Miss Tammy Sawyer, lesbian, admitted, who has been trying to get into politics. Do you know that she works for Teach America? She's an executive with them.
Okay.
And Teach America has the contract through the County Board of Education to train teachers, hire teachers, assign teachers, promote teachers, and establish all of their benefits, and they're paid directly. It's a profit making organization. And as county commissioner, without disclosing her conflict, she has voted for resolutions and ordinances that would give more money to Teach America, with whom she's an executive. That's a conflict. That's criminal.
But that's the Memphis way, right? Was it not her relatives involved in the Nathan Bedford Forrest thing, taking down
Yeah.
the statue, getting paid off by the city for
Well,
that?
wait. Paid off by the city. They were allowed to buy each property for $2,500, and right now they're being offered $27 million for those two properties that they got for $5,000. Now
That's some
they
Boss
didn't
Crump
put it
stuff
up
right
for
there. Yeah.
they didn't put it up for bid. Hell, I would have given a check for that amount, but it wasn't offered to the public. It was an inside deal. It's crooked, and some people need to be in the penitentiary. I know it's nice that Nathan Bedford is down and that Jeff Davis is down, but that's just symbolism. We haven't gotten anything tangible out of the deal as people in this city, but certain corrupt officials have, lined up to make millions of dollars off of the deal.
Oh man, it just Judge, it's so much to to take in. I just hope that our people can understand that the gravity of the situation that we find ourselves as a collective, and time is a wasting. You know, I just
I am, brother. I appreciate the work you're doing. You're being a good reporter, getting to the bottom of this stuff.
yes, sir. Thank you. I don't know. Sometimes I don't want. That's another story, Judge. But thank you so much, Judge. We can find you on Twitter, Judge Joe Brown TV. That's Judge Joe Brown TV without the blue check. That's the real deal. He'll answer back if you got enough sense. And Judge been putting in work for years, so recognize the wisdom, the knowledge, the commitment to standing his square. I mean, he's a real man. He made enough money to don't back down. He won't back down.
Yeah. And it wasn't about the money to begin with. That's the point.
Uh-huh.
See, I look at money like Coca-Cola cans. All right. Coke,
Mm-hmm.
if you like Coke, you like Coke. But some people go at life like they just want to get the can of Coke, pour the Coke out, and get the cans.
Yes,
You
sir.
got to live life. Drinking the Coke is the life in the life. Drink what's in the can. Don't just go get the can so you can dump out the life that's in it. Live the life, do what you're supposed to do. Man up, be about duty, honor, accountability, responsibility, doing what you need to do to make where you live a better, safer, and more secure place, filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics. And it'll be all right, and stuff will come to you, and you won't have to compromise yourself. It might be a little late coming to you, but it will come, because only you will be able to deliver what's needed, because you have been a man without compromise of character.
Those words to receive. And speaking of character, I gotta ask you a take on Terry Crews. What's going on, man? Why are we still paying attention to what he's saying or doing?
I don't know. I haven't a clue. Or, or why, except it's propaganda. See, they're
Hmm.
running propaganda on us.
They are doing that. It's a south. Thank you, Judge, so much. And the words of Great Duke Gelton. We love you madly, and you keep on producing and pushing, sir. Thank you for your
Yes,
service.
sir, young man. You be good. Be
Yes,
safe.
sir. Thank
Keep
you.
breathing.
Yes, sir. I was there. Yes, sir. It's like a horror movie 2020. Jesus.
It is. We have had no adversity for a long
Oh
time,
man.
but most of the 250,000 years there have been modern humans around, we lived inside a real live horror movie.
Yes,
If you
Jesus.
ever get a
Wow.
chance to go to the Chicago Field Museum, in the
Mm-hmm.
African exhibit, they've got two stuffed lions mounted. They note that the skin shrank in storage, so the mounts are only two-thirds the size of the real animals. But those two animals, one's known as the ghost and the other one's known as the darkness. Those two animals killed and ate 120 plus people in the early 20th century trying to build a railroad in Kenya. They
Wow.
would come in the shacks and in the tents and drag people out and eat them.
Wow.
So that was a horror movie. When we grew up as a race of people, something might sneak into your hut or your cave and take you out for a snack. You know, he's going shopping. Let's go to the department. Well, let's go to the grocery store. We're in that cave or in that thing with all those sticks put together and the mud on it. That's the shopping center. There's some good eats in there, nice and tender.
My butcher shop, huh? All right, Judge. Thank you so much. God bless, man.
I'm out of here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, everybody, this is Brother Ron. I am asking you all to do me a big favor. Think about supporting the We All Be movement. Your donation is tax deductible. The We All Be Group Incorporated is a recognized 501c3. And I'm just asking you all because I want to keep on bringing y'all quality work through the way that I know how to do best. And I'm going to sing my praises and toot my horn. A lot of y'all were not hip to Dick Gregory until Brother Ron brought him on the We All Be platform, until that Django review we did. Y'all seen another side of Judge Joe Brown, and Judge Joe Brown's message has been amplified. But it was We All Be that brought Judge Joe Brown to y'all back in 2014. And so many others. And we covered so many things. So help us out so we can help you all. Peace.